My sister hid my wedding invitation so I'd miss the ceremony, but she had no idea I'd show up with a gift she'll never forget. And trust me, Reddit, I never imagined I'd be that guy. The brother who walks into a wedding with the kind of truth that can crack a family straight down the middle. But some people spend years begging for karma, and my sister practically carved her name into the waitlist. Hey Reddit, this one's a long time coming, so buckle up because nothing about this disaster started at the wedding. It started long before with a rivalry my sister insisted on turning into a one-sided war. I 30M and my sister Claire 33F were never the close type of siblings people brag about. Growing up, she treated every good thing that happened to me like it happened at her instead of around her. If I won an award, she'd roll her eyes and tell everyone I got lucky. If I got into a good school, she'd say the admissions team must have needed to fill a quota. If I got a promotion, she'd claim I knew someone even when I didn't. Claire was the kind of person who couldn't stand seeing someone else shine unless she was holding the spotlight switch. Our parents never corrected her because she was the difficult child, eternally dramatic, high-strung, always threatening to cut the family off if she didn't get her way. Their keep the peace approach translated into years of me being the one expected to let things go, to be the bigger person to avoid upsetting Claire. I let things slide for years, too many years, but things got worse, much worse when our adult lives diverged and my success became something she couldn't ignore. I landed a solid job in IT, steady promotions, bought a decent home, got into a stable long-term relationship with the love of my life, Emma. Meanwhile, Claire bounced between careers like she was speed dating them, a yoga instructor 1 month, a freelance graphic designer the next, a lifestyle coach after that. She treated careers like outfits, low commitment, high drama. Then she met Jason. Jason was a walking spreadsheet, organized, calm, financially responsible. I genuinely liked him, which surprised even me. He balanced Claire out in ways I didn't know were possible. For the first time she seemed stable, less volatile, almost kind. I wanted to believe things were improving. But Claire is the kind of person who treats self-reflection like a toxic chemical, avoid at all costs. So when she and Jason got engaged, I congratulated them wholeheartedly. I assumed stupidly that maybe this wedding would be a chance for a reset between us. Maybe she'd finally want peace too. I was wrong. So wrong. The cracks started early. She didn't ask me to be in the wedding party, not surprising but still awkward. She didn't include Emma either, even though they'd gotten along fine before. But whatever, it was her wedding, her choice. I wasn't pressed. Claire though, she was pressed about everything. She nitpicked our mom's dress. She argued with the venue coordinator. She accused her maid of honor of stealing attention. She had 3 separate meltdowns about table linens. And then, because she can never leave anything alone, she started making snide comments about Emma. Not to her face. To me. Are you sure you want to bring her? She asked one night on the phone. She doesn't really fit the aesthetic. I laughed because I genuinely thought she was joking. The aesthetic of what? A wedding? Emma's not showing up in clown makeup. Claire sighed dramatically. It's just, she's not really the vibe. Jason's family is very classy. It might be a little embarrassing for her. I froze. Embarrassing how? Oh my god, don't be sensitive, she snapped. I'm just saying she dresses simply, I repeated. You mean she doesn't dress like an Instagram influencer with a coupon code? Claire gasped like I'd slapped her. Wow, rude. You're acting jealous. Jealous of what? That I'm getting married before you, she said smugly. It's okay, not everyone finds their soulmate early. I hung up. That should have been my warning, but nope. I still showed up to the pre-wedding events, the engagement dinner, the bridal shower, the family cookout. Every time Claire found a new way to poke at me or Emma, like she needed to reassure herself that she was the superior sibling. Then came the invitations. Everyone in the family got theirs before I did. Even the relatives who lived out of state. My parents got theirs. My cousins, my aunts, people Claire barely knew. But not me. Week after week nothing came in the mail. Emma checked every day thinking maybe it got lost. I wasn't worried at first. I figured Claire mailed it late or messed up the address. She wasn't exactly a detail-oriented person. But then one night, my cousin texted me, "Hey, are you gonna do a speech at Claire's wedding? Thought you would since you're her only sibling." I responded, "Didn't get invited yet lol." He replied, "Wait, what?" That's when the alarm bells started. I texted Claire, "Hey, did you send my invitation?" She responded instantly, "Yes, of course, you should have gotten it by now." But she didn't offer to resend it. Didn't ask if she should email me the details. Didn't even pretend to care, just "you should have gotten it." I asked for a picture of the details. She ignored the message. Emma looked at me with this slow dawning expression of dread. Baby, what if she didn't send it? I didn't want to believe that. Even Claire wouldn't stoop that low, right? Wrong. 2 weeks before the wedding, my mom called me saying, "Honey, Claire said she hasn't heard if you're coming. You didn't RSVP." How could I RSVP? I shot back. I never got the invitation. My mom sighed like I was a child causing problems. Claire said she mailed it a long time ago. Mom, I said slowly, are you absolutely sure she sent it? Of course she did, my mom snapped. She wouldn't lie about something like that. Oh, but she would. She absolutely would. Deep down I knew. Deep down Emma knew. Deep down my mom even knew but didn't want to admit it. So I went to Claire's house. I didn't text, I didn't call, I just showed up. She opened the door with that overly sweet smile she only uses when she's lying. "Oh, hey, what's up?" "My invitation," I said. "Where is it?" Her smile tightened. "I mailed it." "Show me the envelope from your mailed invitation list," I said. She blinked. "What? You used tracking because the invitations were fancy, right? You bragged about it for half an hour at dinner." Her face twitched. I don't remember where I put the Claire," I said. "Don't insult my intelligence. Where's my invitation?" She folded instantly. Fine," she snapped. "I didn't send it." "Happy?" I stared at her, stunned even though I'd expected this. "Why?" "Because," she said, crossing her arms, "you and Emma always make everything about you. And I didn't want drama at my wedding." I barked a laugh. "You think I start drama? You hide invitations and I'm the problem? You would have overshadowed me," she spat. "You always do. People like you. People talk to you. You're the golden child to mom and dad whether they admit it or not. And I wanted one day that was mine. So you decided I shouldn't come at all?" She lifted her chin. "Yes, and guess what? It's my wedding. I get to choose who comes." "Did you tell mom and dad?" "No," she snapped. "They'd freak. They'd make a scene. And I don't need mom crying on my wedding day." "So what was your plan? That I'd magically not notice?" She shrugged. "I figured you'd text me about the details eventually, and I'd send them. And you'd show up to the reception only." I stared at her, completely speechless. "You wanted me to miss the ceremony?" "Yes," she said. "I wanted the aisle pictures, without you ruining the aesthetic." I stepped back like her words had physically hit me. "Wow," I breathed. She rolled her eyes. "Stop being dramatic." I nodded slowly. Okay what? "Okay, I'll see you at your wedding." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "You'll find out." And I left. Tholibly tharsly not a bean. "You'll find out." And I left. When she finally came back inside the house, her eyes were still red around the edges, but she tried to hide it with that fake bright smile she always used when someone caught her doing something she wasn't supposed to. The moment she stepped into the dining room, the entire energy in the house shifted for me. Before I felt angry and betrayed, but now something else had settled in the pit of my stomach. Curiosity mixed with a kind of slow boiling disbelief. How long had she been planning to hide my invitation? What was her actual endgame? Why did she think I wouldn't find out? And most importantly, why was she smiling now like everything was normal? She saw me watching her and froze for just a second before plastering the smile back across her face. "Oh, there you are," she said lightly, like she hadn't just shoved my wedding invitation into a drawer earlier that afternoon and lied about it without blinking. She walked toward me, but I took a step back before she could get too close. She noticed instantly. A flicker of irritation crossed her face before she smoothed it again. "We should talk," she whispered under her breath. I didn't answer. I just stared at her until she looked away. She lifted her chin like she was trying to reclaim control, then motioned for me to follow her into the kitchen. I did, but only because I wanted to hear exactly how she planned to spin this. The second the door swung shut, she turned around and crossed her arms. "Okay," she said. "I know you're mad, but can you at least let me explain?" "Explain what?" I said. "Explain why you tried to make me miss your wedding." She winced but didn't fold. "You weren't supposed to find out like that," she muttered. "I was going to tell you, eventually." That made me laugh, but not in a funny way. "Eventually, when?" "After the ceremony. After the photos. After the honeymoon. When exactly were you going to tell me that the only brother you have wasn't invited to your wedding?" "You were invited," she snapped. "Stop saying you weren't." "Invited?" I repeated. "Are we using the word invited loosely now? Because usually invitations are given to the person they are intended for, not hidden inside a drawer under expired coupons and takeout menus." She stared at me before letting out a long sigh, pressing her fingers into her temples. "Look," she said. "You know how my friends are. They say things. They judge everything. They don't always like the people I choose to be around." "People like me?" I asked. She didn't answer, and that silence was louder than anything she could have said. "Wow," I muttered. "So let me guess, your little friend group thinks I'm embarrassing or not polished enough for your wedding photos. Is that it?" "I never said that," she argued weakly. "But you didn't deny it." She opened her mouth to argue again but shut it almost immediately. She couldn't deny it because we both knew the truth. Her friends had always been the kind who cared more about aesthetics than actual relationships. They looked at people like accessories. If someone didn't fit their curated look, they were disposable. And my sister had always been desperate to fit into their perfect little bubble. "You don't understand," she said. "The girls said having you there would shift the vibe." "Shift the vibe," I repeated, stunned. "I'm your brother." "I know," she snapped back, voice cracking. "But they think you're unpredictable." "Unpredictable?" I echoed. "When have I ever caused a problem at any event?" She blinked. "There was that time. When we were kids." I cut her off. "Try again." She didn't because she had nothing. No real reason. Just pressure. Peer pressure she never outgrew. "They said pictures matter," she said quietly. "First impressions matter. Weddings get posted everywhere. People see everything. And they said if you showed up dressed like you usually do." "Like I usually do," I interrupted. "You mean like a normal human being? You know what I'm saying," she said defensively. "They dress high-end. They wanted everything to look cohesive." "Cohesive?" I repeated. You mean expensive? She swallowed. And you think I can't look expensive? That's not what I'd just say it, I said. You think I'd embarrass you? You think I don't fit into the picture you're trying to create? Tears filled her eyes, not the guilty kind, but the frustrated kind she always had when someone called her out. You're twisting my words. No, I said. I'm finally hearing them for the first time. She turned away, arms crossed tight. I didn't want drama, she muttered. My wedding is supposed to be perfect. I wanted it to be classy, clean, and I didn't want you making it awkward. I make it awkward, I said, stunned. You hid my invitation. That's awkward. She didn't answer. She knew she couldn't. Why didn't you just tell me? I asked. If you didn't want me there, you could have said it to my face. Because I did want you there, she yelled suddenly, tears spilling over. I just didn't want to fight. I didn't want you showing up in front of them and proving them right. That sentence hit me hard. Proving them right, I said quietly. She looked away again. That you are not polished. That you don't fit the image. Wow, I whispered. So that's what you think of me, that I'm not presentable enough for your wedding? I didn't say that, but your friends did, and you agreed. She had no answer. She just stood there, wiping her tears, trying to justifiable unjustifiable. Look, she finally whispered, I just wanted everything to look perfect, just once. At the cost of your own brother. She closed her eyes like she couldn't bear the truth of it. I stared at her for a long time before saying, I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to ruin anything. I was going to show up, support you, smile for your photos, hand you your gift, congratulate you and go home. She looked up at me, hope flickering in her eyes for some reason. So you're still coming? I stepped toward her slowly, calmly, too calmly. Oh, I'm coming, I said. But not the way you think. Her face dropped. What does that mean? I didn't answer. Not yet. Because whatever version of me she thought she could hide, whatever picture she thought she could control, whatever role she expected me to play, she was about to learn exactly how unpredictable I could be, and she was about to regret every decision she made. The room didn't just fall silent after I said those words. It felt like the air itself tightened, like every molecule paused to see what my sister would do next. Emma's eyes widened, her mouth hanging open like she couldn't believe I had the nerve to speak in her direction. It was almost funny in a tragic kind of way. She'd spent months lying, scheming, manipulating, and now she was shocked that I wasn't willing to quietly swallow it. She blinked rapidly, her perfectly done makeup starting to crack at the edges as she forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Can we talk privately? She whispered through clenched teeth. No, I said simply, not raising my voice. We're already here. You want to explain why you hid my invitation? Gasps scattered through the room, sharp and intoxicating. Her fiancé Jason looked confused as hell, shifting his weight like he'd just walked into the wrong movie. Her bridesmaids froze mid-step, eyes darting between us. Even my mother stopped adjusting the table centerpieces and finally looked at me like she was trying to connect dots she never imagined existed. Emma opened and closed her mouth before words finally slipped out. I didn't hide anything. What is wrong with you? Why would you come in here accusing me? You took the envelope from my mailbox, I said. You pulled the tracking from Mom's computer. You told the venue that I would not be attending for personal reasons. I have every email. The panic that flashed across her face wasn't subtle. It was loud and obvious and satisfying. People turned to look at her. My mom's jaw dropped. Jason stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. You did what? He asked, voice low but pointed. Emma sputtered, cheeks flushing. No, this is being twisted. He's twisting. Emma, I said calmly, the messages are in my car. I'll bring them in if you want. She shook her head so fast it looked like her brain was trying to jump out. Why would I hide your invitation? She demanded. Why would I do that to my only sibling? The fact she could even say that with a straight face was almost impressive. Because, I said, you didn't want me here. And instead of saying it like an adult, you lied. She looked around like she was hoping anyone would jump in and rescue her. But everyone was waiting, watching, and for the first time she realized she was alone. Her voice cracked. Okay, fine. You know what? I didn't want you here. A cold wave ran through the room. My mother covered her mouth. Jason took a step back from her. Her bridesmaids exchanged uncomfortable glances. Emma looked directly at me then, anger flaring through her embarrassment. I didn't want you here because you always ruin everything. You walk into a room and people like you. You don't even try and they like you. Her voice grew sharper, more frantic. But when it's my moment, my event, my wedding, suddenly you're the favorite, the funny one, the charming one every single time. I didn't want you walking in and taking attention away from me on my day. I stared at her, stunned, not because she said it but because she finally said it out loud. My entire life she'd been competing against a competition I didn't even know existed. I wasn't trying to be liked. I wasn't trying to steal anything. I was just living. But to her, life was a scoreboard. And apparently I was winning without even showing up to the game. So your solution, I said slowly, was to cut me out entirely, without even giving me a chance. Yes, she snapped, voice cracking wide open. Because I knew how it would go. You'd walk in, everyone would be happy to see you, and somehow you'd make it about you. I just wanted one thing that was mine. The room went silent again. Emma's breathing was shaky, her face blotchy red, anger and humiliation swirling around her in waves. "You could have just told me," I said. "I would have stepped back. I would have supported you quietly. I would have asked where you wanted me to stand, how you wanted me to help. I would have done anything not to ruin your day." Her face twisted like she hated the idea that I might be telling the truth. "But you didn't want that," I continued. "You didn't want support. You wanted control." She blinked rapidly again, wiping her cheeks. I wanted one moment. Just one." "You had one," I said. "You just destroyed it." Behind her, Jason finally found his voice. "Is this true?" he asked quietly. "Did you really do that?" Emma hesitated, then nodded. He closed his eyes like the answer physically hurt. "Why would you sabotage your own relationship with your brother on your wedding day?" "Because I didn't think it mattered," she whispered. "I didn't think he'd care." She looked at me again, then eyes red. "I didn't think you cared about me at all." That hit deeper than I expected. Because despite everything she'd just done, I did care. I always had. Even when she treated me like an opponent instead of a sibling. I exhaled slowly. "Emma, I wouldn't have shown up if I didn't care." Her expression faltered, crumbling. "But you hid my invitation," I continued. "You didn't even give me the chance to choose." She sank into the nearest chair, shaking. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The words were brittle, not strong enough to hold the weight of what she'd done. My mother walked over, tears in her eyes, and put a hand on Emma's shoulder. "I don't understand why you'd do this," she said softly. Emma sobbed harder. "Because everyone loves him," she choked. "Everyone always has. And I wanted something that was mine." My mom looked stunned, speechless. Jason stood behind Emma, staring at her like she was a stranger he'd never met. The entire room was suspended in this strange mix of sadness, shock and disbelief. I took a breath, a long heavy one. Then I reached into my coat pocket, and pulled out the small wrapped box I'd brought in when I arrived. Her gift. The one she never expected me to deliver. The one she definitely wasn't prepared for. I held it in my hand, the weight of it grounding me. Emma looked up, confused. What is that?" I stepped forward, my face calm but unreadable. "Your wedding present," I said. Her eyes widened, not in excitement but in fear, and she had reason to be afraid. She hid my invitation, lied to the family, excluded me from one of the most important days of her life. But she forgot something very important. I never show up empty-handed, and this gift was going to change everything. Walking back toward the reception hall after leaving the gift with the coordinator, felt like walking into a storm I had trained my whole life to survive. The air felt electric, like the walls themselves were holding their breath for what was about to happen. The ceremony was over by then, and people were spilling out into the garden area for photos and appetizers. Laughter, clinking glasses, camera flashes, it all looked normal. It all looked like a perfectly peaceful wedding day, and none of them had any idea that the bride's own brother had been erased from the guest list by that bride's sister, because she couldn't stand the idea of me ruining her aesthetic. I spotted my parents instantly. They looked miserable, whispering to each other, probably alternating between guilt and rage. When my mom saw me walking toward them, her entire expression crumbled. She looked like someone had finally thrown her a lifeline. "Oh my God, sweetheart," she started, rushing toward me, but I held up a hand. I wasn't here for comfort. I wasn't here for reconciliation. I was here because my sister had treated me like an inconvenience, like a piece of clutter she could hide away, and I wanted her to feel the weight of that choice. My dad stepped forward too. He wasn't the emotional type, but even his eyes softened. "I'm glad you came," he said quietly. "Your sister, she needs to talk to you." I didn't respond. I didn't need reassurance that she needed anything from me. The time for worrying about her emotional state had passed the moment she shoved my invitation into the back of a kitchen cabinet like some expired coupon she didn't want to throw away. I looked around, scanning the crowd. "Where is she?" My mom swallowed. "Getting photos done with the wedding party." "Perfect," I said. I wasn't planning a scene. I wasn't planning drama. I wasn't planning chaos. I just wanted her to see me really see me, and understand that she didn't get to erase me from the most important day of her life without consequences. But of course, because the universe has a sense of humor, as I walked closer to the main photo area, I spotted Amber before she saw me. She stood with her new husband, smiling beautifully, hand resting on his chest like nothing in the world had ever bothered her. It was infuriating how peaceful she looked, how composed. The photographer adjusted them for another shot. Her veil fluttered in the breeze. Her friends giggled behind her, and then one of her bridesmaids noticed me first. Her eyes widened, and she nudged the girl next to her. Within seconds, whispers spread through the group like wildfire. Amber turned her head slightly, confused by the sudden hush, and then she saw me. The smile evaporated from her face like someone had snuffed out a flame. Her entire body stiffened. Her new husband looked between us, confused, clearly aware the vibe had shifted but not yet understanding why. Amber stepped out of the photo formation, lifting her dress slightly so she wouldn't trip, and walked toward me with that carefully controlled expression she always used when she was about to lie. "What are you doing here?" she hissed quietly, stopping a few feet away. "What do you mean, what am I doing here?" I asked. "It's my sister's wedding. You weren't invited," she snapped under her breath. You weren't supposed to come. A few nearby bridesmaids gasped at the tone she used, not loud but sharp, cold, entitled. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Actually, I said I was invited. You just hid my invitation. Her face drained of color. Who told you that? Mom found it, I said, in the cabinet, right where you shoved it. She opened her mouth, probably to deny it, because that was always her first instinct, but the look on my face must have shut that impulse down. Her eyes darted around the garden, checking if anyone was watching. Spoiler, they were. You weren't supposed to be part of this, she said, voice shaking now. You would have ruined everything. You always make things awkward. You don't fit in with my friends. It was supposed to be simple. Simple? I repeated. Your idea of simple is pretending I don't exist? She blinked fast, mascara thickening at the corners of her lashes. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She shook her head. Just, please don't make a scene. Please. This is my day. Can we just talk about it later? I stepped closer, not threatening, just firm. You made this decision weeks ago, I said. You had every opportunity to talk about it then. Her voice dropped even lower. I didn't think you'd care this much. That right there was what cracked something inside me. Not the hiding of the invitation. Not the lies. Not the months of pretending nothing was wrong. It was that sentence. I didn't think you'd care. She really believed that. She really believed cutting me out of her wedding was something I wouldn't care about. Something I wouldn't notice. Something I didn't deserve to be hurt by. She had rewritten our entire relationship around the idea that I was the disposable sibling. I stared at her for a long moment. You didn't think I'd care? I said quietly. Her lips trembled. She crossed her arms, gripping her elbows like she needed to hold herself together. I just wanted everything to be perfect, she whispered, as if that made any of this better. I didn't want to feel embarrassed on my wedding day. By me, I said. She flinched, hard. For once she didn't have a comeback. Didn't have a justification. Didn't have a deflection. I leaned closer. I wasn't the one who embarrassed you, I said. You did that all by yourself. Before she could respond, her husband approached us cautiously, looking between her blotchy face and my calm one. Everything okay? Amber didn't answer. I did. Just a family misunderstanding, I said smoothly. But don't worry, she's about to get a wedding gift she'll absolutely never forget. Her mouth fell open in horror. What did you do? She whispered. What did you do? But before I could answer, the wedding coordinator rushed over, carrying a velvet envelope with both hands, expression tight and confused. Amber, she said, there's something for you. The guests nearby froze. My sister's face transformed into pure dread, and I just stood there letting the moment settle like dust before a storm. Because this wasn't revenge. This wasn't payback. This wasn't cruelty. This was the truth arriving on time, even if my invitation hadn't. When I walked out of that reception hall with the entire room staring after me, the cold air outside didn't hit nearly as hard as the realization of what just happened. My sister, my own blood, had spent months planning that wedding, months sabotaging me behind the scenes, months rehearsing a version of the story where I was the problem, not her. And all it took was one envelope, and one truth bomb to unravel her entire fantasy world in front of everyone she cared about. I stood on the stone patio for a minute, breathing in the night air, hands still trembling, heart pounding like someone was drumming against my ribs. I expected anger, maybe even regret, to wash over me. Instead, all I felt was something colder, calmer, clarity. A door closed behind me and I heard footsteps, then my mom's voice calling my name. I didn't turn at first. She approached carefully, like I was some fragile animal she didn't want to startle. Sweetheart, she said quietly. I didn't know. I finally turned my head just enough to see her expression: shock, guilt, confusion, all wrapped into one. I know, I said. My voice didn't shake. I was done shaking for people who didn't value me enough to check the facts before deciding I was the villain. My mom swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell us? I held up the envelope, the one I'd handed Emily, the one she'd opened in front of 200 witnesses, the one with the truth inside. Because I wanted her to tell you, I said. I wanted her to take responsibility for once in her life instead of hiding behind excuses. My mom closed her eyes, exhaling sharply. I can't believe she would do something like this. You can't? I said, not cruelly, honestly. Mom, she's been doing stuff like this since we were kids. If she didn't want something to exist, she made sure it didn't. My mom winced but didn't deny it. And she shouldn't. She'd watched Emily pull stunts like this for years, brushing them off as sibling rivalry while I ate the consequences for both of us. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I should have asked more questions. Yeah, I said. But it's done now. She reached for my arm. Please come back inside. Your dad wants to talk to you. And your grandmother is furious at Emily. Maybe we can Mom, I said, gently pulling my arm away. I'm not going back in there. Her face fell. But it's your sister's wedding. Exactly, I said. It's her night, and me being in there right now, that makes it about me. I'm not doing that to her. Even after everything, she still deserves her wedding. My mom looked stunned. Maybe she expected me to storm back inside and demand apologies from every relative in the building. Instead, I was choosing the one thing Emily never gave me, grace. I'm just going to leave quietly, I said. Let everyone focus on her again. My mom covered her mouth, tears brimming. You're a better person than she deserves. Maybe, I said, but I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it for me. She hugged me tightly, whispering apologies into my shoulder, apologizing for years she should have stepped in and didn't. I let her hug me, but my heart didn't ache the way it once would have. I wasn't a kid begging for someone to defend me anymore. I wasn't begging for anything. When she finally stepped back, wiping at her eyes, she whispered, "Will you at least wait a minute? Your father wants to walk out with you." I nodded. My dad emerged a few seconds later, stoic as always, but his jaw was clenched in a way that told me he was furious, not at me but at the situation. "You handled yourself well," he said. "Better than I would have." "Didn't feel like it," I said. "You didn't yell," he replied. "Didn't cuss. Didn't make a scene. You gave her the chance to tell the truth, and when she didn't, you did it yourself." He looked toward the building. "And she needed that." We walked together to the parking lot, neither of us saying much. The muffled sounds of the reception drifted through the evening air, music, laughter, someone tapping a microphone, people trying to smooth over the chaos. When we reached my car, my dad put a hand on my shoulder. "You're a good man," he said. "I mean that." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "Don't disappear," he added. "Your mother will lose her mind." That earned a faint smile from me. "I'm not going anywhere. I just need time." He nodded once, then walked back toward the venue, leaving me alone with nothing but the soft glow of string lights reflecting off my windshield. Before I opened the door, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Emily. "Please don't leave. We need to talk. I'm sorry. Please just wait." I stared at the screen for a long moment, and for the first time in years her requests didn't feel like obligations. They were choices, and I finally had the freedom to choose what was right for me. I typed one reply and sent it. "We'll talk, but not tonight." I started the car, let the engine hum fill the silence, then pulled out of the lot and drove away, leaving the music, the chaos, the lies, and the entire weight of years behind me. And for the first time in a long time, the road ahead felt lighter. In the days after the wedding, the family group chats went nuclear. Some people called my sister jealous. Some said she embarrassed herself. Some pretended they had no idea she'd go that far. She still hasn't spoken to me, which honestly feels like the first real gift she's ever given. My parents apologized over and over, but I'm not interested in anyone's guilt, just their actions moving forward. What surprised me most, though, was how many people quietly pulled me aside afterward to say they were glad I showed up anyway, that it was about time someone stopped letting her get away with everything. Funny how people only find their voice once the fire's already burning. As for the marriage she tried to shut me out of, they sent me a thank you note for the thoughtful gift. They don't know the full story behind it, only she does. And that's enough. I didn't ruin her big day. I just refused to let her rewrite my place in it.